Hey, thank you for joining my YouTube channel. Want to subscribe for sure. And we're continuing our series on love vision, seeing through the eyes of love, seeing as God sees, which is reality. Ultimately, the way God sees is reality, and we can make adjustments and ask God to help us to see according to God's point of view, God's perspective. I want us to look for a brief moment today at a situation that happened in John chapter 8. This is a really interesting situation because in verses 1 through 12, Jesus is in the temple early in the morning and he's teaching. He's got a crowd around him and he's doing his Jesus teaching thing there. And in the middle of his teaching early in the morning, the Jewish leaders bring this lady who is caught in the act of adultery. They bring the lady and throw him down at Jesus' feet in front of everybody, right? I mean, they're like outing her, they're exposing her. And in their mind, they're like, hey, we need to deal with this infidelity. You know, we need to deal with this law-breaking woman. Don't forget that to do adultery, you have to have two people. So I don't know where the guy is, but maybe that's a rabbit trail. Anyways, so the Jewish leaders throw her down in front of Jesus. And they say, according to the Mosaic law, she's caught in the act of adultery. We're exposing her. We're bringing her sin to the front. And we're letting you see she needs to have her sin dealt with. We need to deal with her. And I think sometimes we can have that idea if we're not careful. Sometimes as religious people, we can say, well, you know, you need to get rid of the sin. You need to deal with the sin. And you got to put it out front and you know, just make sure, expose the sin. And it's interesting what Jesus does because the religious leaders put him kind of on task. They call him to task and say, what do you say? The law says that we should stone her. What do you say? And Jesus, they put him in the spotlight, and I want you to appreciate, you think about what's going on here. You get the woman caught in adultery. These are all the participants in this whole thing. You got Jesus, you got who like knows start to finish, soup to nuts, knows the whole thing. Knows the woman, knows the religious leaders, knows his audience in front of him. Most importantly, he knows the Father's heart. What's the Father's heart? So you got Jesus, you got the woman, you got the audience that's watching this whole thing, and you got to think about them, and their eyes are this big, like, oh my God, you know, what's he gonna do? And it's a confrontation. And then you have the religious leaders who have their Mosaic law and, you know, righteous attitudes and maintenance and compliance to the law and all this stuff. And it's interesting what Jesus does because he takes this very highly charged moment. I mean, they're ready to kill this lady. I mean, they're ready literally to throw rocks at her and to annihilate her. And Jesus takes this moment, like it's super, super intense. And I like what Jesus does because, again, we know that God is love, based on what it says in 1 John 4. If God is love and Jesus is God, then Jesus personifies genuine love. So what does genuine love say with a sinful person? That's what this woman is, a sinful woman. Never mind that they didn't bring the guy to, which this is another thing to think about. What does he do? And it's interesting because he takes some time. And it says in here, it says he bends over and starts to write in the dirt, starts to move his finger along in the dirt. And when you think about it, this highly charged moment, Jesus takes a pause. He doesn't respond immediately to the religious leaders. He doesn't talk to the woman. He doesn't say to the audience, hey, what do you think we ought to do? Democracy. He doesn't do any of that. He takes a pause and lets time kind of take the wind out of their sails. Take a little bit of a breather. He's writing in the dirt. And then he stands up and he says to the religious leaders, he says, you know, he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. And then he stoops over again and keeps writing in the dirt. Now, a lot of people think, well, you know, what did he write? We don't know what he wrote. And I would propose to you that if we needed to know if it was important what Jesus wrote, then we would know. But it wasn't. What he did was he took time. And I want to say that. I think when we think about genuine love and seeing through love, love takes time and makes time. And love is not impulsive and quick and just kind of reactionary and judgmental. Love takes time. And that's what Jesus did with this woman. He took time. He didn't impulsively or reactionary, wasn't responding to, he just took time. He dialed everything back, turned down the intensity, and said, let's just take some time here. And I want to encourage you today that when we see through love, time is an important part of what it means to love, genuine love. And we know that, when we think about the 5 love languages, there's affirmation, there's gifts, there's physical touch, there's time, and I forget the 5th one, but there's these expressions. But let's never neglect the investment, the expression of genuine love through time. Jesus took time, and it would behoove us to take time, listen, to be present, and to be gentle and kind and encouraging, and just to be wholly present with individuals. This is what Jesus did. And this is one of the ways that we can see through the eyes of love by taking time. So thank you so much for watching today, giving me your time. I really appreciate that. It's meaningful to me, and I like getting to spend time with you as well. So leave some comments, thumbs up, thumbs down. Love to have you subscribe. Of course, I love that. And you can pass this on to your friends. It'd be great. This is a great one to share. And I know our joke. We're like, woo, the joke. So where do bees like bzzz, where do the bees go to the bathroom? Bees go to the bathroom at the BP station. BP is like, like a brand of fuel, gas, BP. Yeah, I know. You're like, not so good. Well, next week will be so much better. Thanks again for watching.